What has been the biggest month you've had?
September last month was my first 50K month.
How many payouts now?
I'm up to 9 payouts right now.
His performance for the month of September peaked at 53,000 on the month, which is insane. And look at that beautiful equity curve going up. One of your trades, you have a 100% win rate on. You took 9 of them. You made $28,000 with a single trade. All right, so we got Jake in the house. Good to have you, brother. How are you?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing excellent. I know I just saw you this past weekend. I actually met in person with Jake. We were at my very first masterminds. It was a small group, some of the best traders in the community. So we spent like 3 days together. And Jake here dropped a bump on me, essentially sharing how he's been doing lately. And I was like, man, we got to get you on a case study because you are just absolutely crushing it. Essentially wanted to bring you on today so we can, one, go over your wins, so we can share that with the audience, and also break down how you've gotten to this point, what's working, what didn't work, what you've learned. And I'm sure that's going to help a lot of people watching. So why don't we start with your wins? What are some of those big wins that you've had recently?
Definitely last week, it was kind of a cool opportunity to get to meet everyone in person, especially you. After this long journey, it's been a year now. Pretty unbelievable ride for sure. So yeah, the big milestone for sure was hitting the 20 accounts. Back in July, that's when I hit all 20 accounts finally, and totaling together, it's about $2.4 million worth of trading capital.
Beautiful. So you scored $2.4 million in profit funding. And what has been the biggest month you've had?
September last month was my first 50K month. That felt pretty good. I think September definitely was a good eye opener for me.
Beautiful. So 2.4 million in funding, and then you hit a $50,000 month. That is absolutely incredible. He's one of the killers in the community, so he's definitely gonna drop some jets for you guys. So how many payouts now?
I'm up to 9 payouts right now.
Every other day, Jake is like, 2 more payouts here. I love it. Now that we know where you're at right now, September, 50K month, you have 20 PAs, 2.4 million in funding. You didn't start there. So you've been now 1 year in the program, literally just 1 full year. And so where were you prior to joining the program? Did you have any experience with trading? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I didn't have too much experience. I think back during COVID, especially, I had a lot of free time. I think everyone was kind of trying to play with the market, the whole GameStop era. So I was kind of in on that, lost a lot of money doing that. And then I actually tried to get into futures on my own, trying to use NinjaTrader, doing similar scalping method, and ended up doing miserably with that too. So that's why, originally when I joined, I was a little fearful of like what could be, because I've only seen like the negative sides of it. But yeah, I definitely made a full turnaround since then.
So you guys started like many people during COVID, right? That was like the hot thing, the markets. You tried features on your own, didn't go so well. I remember our call still when you reached out. What were some of those concerns that you had before joining the program?
Definitely a lot of fears. It's hard to trust people you've never met on the internet. It's like a little more hesitant. But I think, one of the biggest fears I had, I remember asking you, one of my biggest questions was like, why are you doing this? I feel like you're making so much money. At the time, I didn't really like comprehend your answer, because I remember you just said like you're just a natural teacher. You want to give people this knowledge and be able to like grow this community. And like the longer I've been here and the longer that I've like been a part of this, I think that community is almost more beneficial than the actual like money part. Like obviously you need money to pay the bills, you need money to do stuff. A big realization for me is like, hey, like the community that we built with this is like it's so incredible. And looking back now, it's like it's grown so much over this past year. I can't even imagine where it's going to be a few years from now.
And so for you initially, it was hard to understand. And I get this question all the time. You're making so much. Why bother teaching? But I think even getting to experience the weekend together, right? With the group and everything. I mean, it's priceless, really. It's been great having you in the community. Now you came into the program. You had a previous experience where you lost money. How was that initial 3 months of the training? What were some of the challenges perhaps that you had to face?
I feel like the 3 months it definitely was a little challenging. In the beginning, when I told myself, I was like, hey, I'm going to treat this differently, because everything else I do in life, I've always tried to rush it, right? I've always been the kind of person to get into things too quickly and try to go all in too quickly. And I've always been burnt in the past. So I really took the time when I joined this and told myself, I'm not even going to touch the charts until I've finished all the modules, I've done all the tradings, and like I've gotten to the point where I'm, ready to slowly start getting into this. And I think that's what set me up for success from the very beginning, because I had that intention of not jumping the gun on this. And I think it paid off. I did pretty well. The first few weeks I was in the course, I was taking like on the sim trades, I was doing good. And then October came around and I was doing pretty miserable, not going to lie. That was a big eye opener for me as well, because I got on this course and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm making all this money. It's going to be great. And then all of a sudden it's all stripped away from you. Right. Mm-hmm. So like in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, like, Is this worth it? Like, was this the right move? And like, is it me? Like, so you have all these doubts going on. What was it? November started picking up a little bit better again, and then December was good. And I think, yeah, at that point it was really just about like dialing in the crafts. You know, 'cause you think you have everything figured out when you first started, and you don't really like want to learn all the nuances of things. And I think that's a big downfall for a lot of people is like they don't take the time to actually pay attention to like what's going on. They just want to jump in and see what happens. Literally roll the dice.
Absolutely. And so you experience what I will say most people experience, which is you get started and you're winning, right? Maybe the market is doing a specific type of pattern and then you come crashing down. And so that is the moment what I was telling you, this is what I call the initiation moment. There's a lot of details to be learned still and to really master. And that's why sometimes in the beginning, I tell people like, take it a little bit slower because I've seen it happen so many times. And I know for you, you had to go through that initiation, that phase yourself, which is where I believe the market will test you. It will test your commitment to the craft, which is you do really well, then everything gets taken away from you. And most people can't make it past that, right? So how was that experience and how were you able to overcome that?
Yeah, so I feel like it's been kind of interesting because I've gone in like these waves, right? You know, it's like when I first started and I had that October month, and that was like really, really devastating to me, right? And it's funny to think back now. It's like that was such a small amount, and I wasn't even really trading any real money. It was just it was evaluations at that point. It wasn't even tangible yet. And then fast forward, January, I was absolutely killing it. I had all my accounts, and my PAs, and I think the first real test for me was around February, March timeframe. And that's when I had my first big drawdown of $30,000. So I sat there and I just kept taking loss after loss after loss. And that was a bigger test for me, I think, than the initial test, because that was the point where like, okay, now I actually have some skin in the game. I actually have some commitment to this and I actually need to focus. So take a step back and look at what I'm doing wrong. That was a huge turning point for me. At that point, when I had that massive drawdown, I scaled back to one account only. I told myself I'm going to do one account, one contract, and I'm just going to get a green week. That's all I need. I need one green week. So I would do that. And then from that one green week, I would be like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to two accounts now, start trading two. I would just need one green week, and I would do one green week with that. And then so I go from 2 to 4 to 8 and just build all the way back up to that 20. And that's really where that confidence started to come back into play. Because like when you're in such a big rut like that, the smallest little error is going to just drain you. If you're not pivoting while you're in the middle of that, you're just going to get stomped on.
I think you make a good point, because I think the hardest part of the inevitable drawdowns when you're on a losing streak of some sort, whether the market shifted or something's going on with us, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're scared of losing, so we start making mistakes, and those mistakes spiral into more mistakes. And next thing you know, you're drawing down really bad. And what I love about what you did is you said, okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to go small as I can. One account, one contract, which is hard to do after trading 20 accounts with more contracts, right? Because it feels very small. But you were focused on building that consistency again, building confidence, which at the end of the day is everything. You took the time to actually build it up again, which I think can be very discouraging for a lot of people. And that's maybe why they don't want to do it. I still remember the day when you made that post in the community, sharing the experience and everything that you went through on that, what felt like a roller coaster. And I was telling you that I really appreciated that, because that's just the reality of trading, right? We can all pretend like it doesn't happen, but like a lot of people have to go through that. I had to go through it at different scales and at different moments in the career and multiple times. I don't think it's uncommon, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it, or they don't make it. So you made it through that curve. What do you think were perhaps some of the shifts that you had to make? Did anything change in the way you look at trading or the way you look at risk, or what do you like?
Yeah, I think a big shift that I had, especially, was when you mentioned Mark Douglas. This was like pretty early back. I think it was maybe like December or January. I started really getting into like the psychology of the trading. At first I thought it was kind of like a kooky thing. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, like, how does this really like affect my trading? Like, it's just a strategy. It's not anything mental involved. But at the end of the day, like, your mind is capable of so much. And if you don't have your mind right, then you're never going to be successful doing anything, especially with the trading, because a lot of jobs out there, you'll go to work, and let's say you fail 1,000 times at work in a corporate job. That's okay. I mean, you're still going to be getting paid. You're still going to have that financial security, right? Day trading is different, right? Because you're either going to make money one day or you're going to lose money one day. And that's a lot to take in, especially for someone who their entire life has always made money, so it's like having that drawdown. It feels like you're a loser internally, And there's a lot of different ways to get over that, but I think that the biggest one is to really, like how you say, like reframe and shift your mindset into, okay, like this isn't so bad. There's another day tomorrow. I have another opportunity. So, I think it's just that mental shifting and being able to dig yourself out of that rut is huge. That's the biggest thing that I've learned from this course. Obviously the strategy is incredible. It's really good, but I think more valuable than anything is that your mind is the most powerful tool. And if you can't get your mind in check, you're never going to be a good trader.
I love that. Absolutely. Because what we discussed is there's two parts to this, right? You have to have the technicals. If you don't have that, if you have an edge, you're still not going to make money. Even if you're the Buddha, right? And you're an enlightened being, you're still not going to make money. But once you have the strategy, you still need to have the right mental space. And what Jake was mentioning here is being able to reframe reality, right? We have a loss, but the loss is neutral, but we can make it mean something, right? And for a lot of us, losing money is not easy. And you're right. This is the only job where you make money or lose money, right? Imagine going to a corporate job where like, today we're going to take money away from you, right? It's just a different game. And so it really, really comes down to how you choose to see the losses and being able to create a new lens through which you see what's happening. And I think that on its own creates a completely different experience. And for you, it's been incredible seeing your progress to get to the point where you have that ability, that mental space to be able to deal with the numbers, which they do get bigger, right? And I even wanted to show here, this is why I'm a huge proponent of tracking everything, which I always tell people, losing traders on track. And Jake is literally tracking as he's trading, which is awesome. So he's really made it a point to get it done. And I'm telling you, the people that do this win, even if at the time it's not working, because this is also a tool that allows you to zoom out. And when you're having a drawdown, when you're having that losing day or two losing days in a row, like you did here, you can look at the bigger picture and realize that it's going to be okay. You're just doing just fine. It's just a pullback. And so this is his performance for the month of September, peaked at 53,000 on the month, which is insane. And look at that beautiful equity curve going up. He still has losing days. He still has losing trades, but is having the ability to manage them. And another thing that I noticed that was really cool, one of your trades, you have a 100% win rate on. The 15-minute re-entry, 100% win rate. You took 9 of them. You made $28,000 with a single trade. That is insane. We do like to track everybody's performance. I'm telling you, there is patterns with the people that win and patterns with the people that lose. And one of the things that I notice is that you have the discipline to actually do what is required and to keep pushing when things get hard. Now that you're at this point where you're getting payouts, you have the 20 funded accounts, you're having 50K months, you're learning to reframe reality, and you're in a really good place, where do you see yourself taking this?
That's a $1 million question, right? It's been cool. I started this a year ago, and I think I caught you at a really good point in my life too, because I was already considering getting out of the military at that point. And then you popped up one day, and I guess we started chatting about this whole thing. Initially, I was a little skeptical. I was like, I don't know. I think this doesn't really seem like you can't really like make a living off this. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. Fast forward to now, and it's like, I'm doing that. I'm getting out of the military in March, and it's scary. It's definitely a scary feeling. But I have the evidence to back it up now. I've had this entire year. I know that I can make it work. And so it's just a matter of like sticking to the game plan. The main reason I joined this course in the first place is to get some of that freedom back, right? I've been in the military for 10 years now, been away from my family for a long time. So I think it's cool to be able to have that freedom now to go do what I need to do and live the life I want to live and not have to go into an office every single day.
So for you, you're about to make a big transition, right? Out of the military, something you've been doing for an entire decade of your life, something that not a lot of people get to do and get to experience, right? I think a lot of people dream of potentially being free, being traders, but not many people will be willing to go that far. I think you said it right. It is the beauty of, in a way, like breaking out of the system, where you can make a lot of money in just a few hours a day. It's not easy. Obviously, there's a reason you get to make a lot more money and have a lot more time than everybody else. Even people who make a lot of money in other businesses and come and join because they want to do this, they want to live this lifestyle. And for me to see you doing what you're doing right now is being absolutely inspiring. And I know just hearing what the community is saying, even at the events, at the mastermind, people were really looking up to you and what you're doing. So I appreciate you, one, sharing the lessons that you learn with the community because it helps everybody else. You're showing people that it's possible. And that's important. Because sometimes people look at me like, oh, well, good for him. Maybe he's like a special or something. And then Jake comes along, crushes it, right? Kyle comes along, crushes it. And I love to see that. You got till March for your transition. So I'm sure from here in March, anything can happen. I'm sure at some point you're going to hit 100K months. It's just a matter of time. Mark my words, we'll be back for another case study. Now that you're on the other side of the program, you've been in the community 1 year. Let's say somebody's watching this video. They're listening to your story. They resonate. maybe they're thinking about getting into trading or maybe even just joining my program. Maybe they've gone through a lot of accounts, a lot of other courses, and they're scared. Many people are because it's online and it's trading and you just never know. What would you say to someone in that position now that you're on the other side 1 year later?
Yeah, man, I would say just, take the leap, right? It's like, if you're even considering doing something like this, you've already told yourself that you want to do something different, right? So if you stick around and you're continuing to do the same thing every single day and you don't take that risk, you're never going to be successful, at least in your own way, right? And even if you're just asking yourself, can I do this? Then that's the place you need to start. And I think it's really difficult for a lot of people to give up that security and try to go find something else for themselves, mostly because they don't know where to start, right?
It's been a big transition for you. And I think that's part of what's so inspiring. You're doing something that a lot of people are not willing to do. It's not easy. And you have a wife and everything. It's like you have the house, everything. It's different for everybody. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch this and resonate and feel like, if Jake can do it, maybe I can do it too. And sometimes it's just taking the leap, right? I really appreciate taking the time to share that with the group. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people resonating with this. Any final words before we go?
Dude, I want to thank you for everything. Seriously, it's been crazy. There's no way I could have gotten where I've gotten now without you. So I appreciate everything. And if anyone's watching this and they seriously are considering it, it's like, hit me up. I'm a real person, I swear. Any questions about the course or want someone to vouch for you, I can absolutely do that.
That's very generous of you. And thanks again for sharing your lessons, sharing the journey. And again, for keeping it real, right? Ultimately, I think that's what we all want to see. It's the reality of what it is to be a trader. As a real human who has emotions, struggles, has wins, has losses, like anybody else. And then seeing you come to the other side. So this is Jake for you, ladies and gentlemen, the legend himself. We'll be back next time. Thank you.
Thanks, man.